Now I said that, I think maybe I can edit two together
You could probably, huh?
on YouTube.
I'm
Our new communications director can have fun with that.
looking forward to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, we're gonna. Yeah, he really did. Steve did great with that. We're gonna have Cameron here on the 15th. Yep.
What did we say?
24, 23.
23. I was thinking 21.
Ah.
We still have a couple minutes.
That's my willingness to just.
Oh, that's probably just your screen protector.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, these are all this screen protector.
No, I think telling jokes in public meetings probably ends up getting more people in trouble than it
So
does.
I'm willing to put up with thousands of cracks in the screen protector and have the thing for 4 years with.
I don't
But
really
having a
fully
actual
think
crack
through.
in the screen would distress me greatly. But it doesn't.
No, I just cut mine out. It's a line. I must have sat on it from phone at my back pocket. Remember my opening comment? Said, give it to a half hour, you can have it.
We're trying.
15 minutes is too long. Got the feeling Brad's going on.
Just talking about stuff. Why? We need to ask him about kill.
Get that bug. Oh, yeah. At least you know.
Yeah. We need to ask him about Kill Creek. When they're gonna start on Kill.
Oh, yeah. He's doing a terrible job. North on 435 towards Renoway. KDOT's doing the concrete yourself.
I-35 south. It's great.
Well, the company's there.
Yeah.
All right, I got 723. Motion to return from someone. Right? Or do we? No, we're just back. That's right. We don't
back.
need all that. Now a motion to.
I'll make a motion. We grant a 4% increase in the compensation to Mike Brungard, the city administrator.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Lane,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Monaco,
Yes.
Ritter,
Yes.
Murdoch,
Yes.
City Council, motion carried.
Okay. Advisory reports. City administrator.
Yes, council. A couple things for next meeting. We'll have an executive session for next meeting to introduce you to the 3 finalists for our communications and outreach position. We narrowed down the resumes, and we interviewed 6 applicants in the end, 3 of which stood out to us. And the position is going to be high profile enough, and this person will work directly with the council on a lot of things. So for those reasons, we thought it was important to get the finalist in front of you just to have an introduction. And so my thought is keeping that relatively informal, keeping it to kind of 10 minutes per person, maybe, just to kind of have them introduce themselves, tell us a little bit about themselves, and to have you get a feel for their personality and their background and what they might bring to the position. So we'll be doing that at the next council meeting. We might move the executive session to earlier
You
in
want
the
to do
meeting.
it like start at 6:30 and do it, or
No, I think 7's fine.
All right.
I think it's fine. But just have it earlier in the meeting in case something goes long. I'm not exactly sure how the agenda will be filling out, but we do have the budget hearing that evening and a couple other things on the plate. One of the other things that may be on the plate is a work session with the park board. Like we've mentioned before, the park board's been working the last several months pretty diligently on the idea of narrowing the park improvements down that might become part of a bond referendum next year. So they're focusing in on an area where they're pretty comfortable with the list of improvements that they might include there, and I think it's time to start engaging the council with that discussion. So one of the ideas is a work session, possibly before the next council meeting on August 15th. The thing about doing it before a council meeting is that it does limit us to 1 hour, so it's a little bit limited in that manner. We could also just put it on the regular agenda for that evening, and have the park board members be invited here to this meeting, so we could have that discussion. Or we could try and schedule a work session for the off Thursday, or some other time. We will have a park board meeting next on Monday. So just want to get your thoughts on that about a work session and scheduling.
I don't mind before the meeting, but I wouldn't mind off Thursday either.
thoughts?
I'm fine with before or an off meeting. I think in this meeting would probably be more than we want to take off at that point.
Unless we start it earlier.
And that 15th meeting, we're already got an extra half hour, right? So.
Yeah, an executive session, right?
Kevin, what are your any preference or thoughts?
I prefer not to embed it in the meeting. I'm fine with either a 1 hour work session before. I've got a little conflict on the 8th, but
Okay.
I mean, it's not ideal, but I can figure out how to make it work.
Danny, what your preference?
I preference a work session, but I know it's more difficult for other people than me. So if it tends to go the other way, then it's okay with me. But I just think it's going to take too long, and I think it would be better off in a separate session.
Yeah.
And so, kind of jumping back a little bit, does it have to be a Thursday, or could it be like Tuesday the 6th or Thursday the 22nd? If we did it on an off day. Again, that's just based on my individual calendar. Don't just schedule it around me.
I'm out of town that week of the 22nd, so I wouldn't be here for that one.
You said Tuesday the 6th.
That's next week.
Yeah, so it'd be they'd have 2 nights. The
Are we
park board
are we
meeting
trying
is
to do this in the next week or next 3 weeks or
really? Yeah, I mean, I think we need to get it going the next month for sure. If we're gonna kind of meet a time frame by, I think in general we want to have this stuff narrowed down if we're gonna do it, to ready to pull the trigger by the end of the year.
How about the 29th? The Thursday that we don't have a meeting. It's kind of we got an extra Thursday in August.
Oh yeah, in August.
Chiefs at Packers. I got Chiefs at Packers.
Yeah, I'll be out 29th. That's okay.
could do the 6th easy.
I just pulled up my calendar.
What about anybody available on Monday, like this Monday, to just go to the park board meeting?
The 5th.
Works for
Monday
me.
the 5th.
I'm there. I'm good.
Be there. We know the park board's available.
I'll be
right?
there.
I'm
He'll
good.
be there.
I'm good with that.
I'm good on the 5th.
What time?
I can make it
6:30.
Mike, I'll be out of town, but I don't know that you really need me there. Talking project.
We can phone you in from Michigan.
Yeah.
There's no reception where he's going.
Oh, there's.
Are you going to the boundaries? Or?
Do we have to?
I've been.
We do have to announce the meeting.
Yeah.
That would work fantastic.
So I make a motion, we attend the park board meeting on August 5th as a council joint session.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All right.
Keep up, Lana.
I just gotta throw me under the bus on that one. All those in favor? Mayor?
Yep.
Or
All in
roll call?
favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Good. That works perfect.
Okay. What else you got tonight, Mike?
That's it for my report. That's it. Yeah.
All right. Patrick?
Can I ask a question, Mike?
Sure.
Can you give a real brief update on the 91st Street work? Anything meaningful?
Nothing particular.
Is on track? Is
Yeah, no, it's yeah. I mean, it's on track to be hit their
They started cutting.
completion date around the end of September.
They started cutting the dirt for the sidewalks this last week. Or the
Yeah,
week
Brad, do you
before.
have anything more specific than I do?
Yeah, we said it got paid. Yeah, they've got a storm sewer.
So all on track.
Within the next couple, 3 weeks, we'll start seeing rock. Anticipating operation.
Yeah, there's no reason to think they're behind schedule.
Thank you.
Do we have inspection processes for the when they do that subgrade and stuff?
We do, yeah. So we have in the specs there's geotechnical testing of the dirt under there, and then we also have a proof rolling.
Just a
that
visual.
happens. Yeah, so you load a tandem axle dump truck and you roll it over the dirt that the pavement's going to go on.
No, I'm good with it. I just for long term, we just didn't have a lot of stuff, and we see a lot of our streets failing.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to.
Yep.
Okay. Patrick?
Nothing for me.
All right. Lana?
No comments,
Oh, I
Mayor?
switched up. Brad? Why? Because I knew you were going to have the big finish.
Hill Creek Road, starting to transverse cracks. Tomorrow morning, if it rains tomorrow, actually contractors can do working Saturday. More equipment out there.
Saw a lot of cones tonight coming in. They're ready.
That'll affect the bike route.
How long will it take them? Okay.
When's that thing coming through?
55 cracks they're gonna repair, and then they actually go out and mark it.
Of course, you found a few more.
Mm-hmm.
You've been talking with Ron Creason, haven't you?
Okay. Anything else to report? All right. Thank you, Brad. Council comments. Kevin, you want to start us?
I have no report.
Lori?
I have nothing, Mayor. Thank you.
Rob?
Two things. Number one, the stoplight left turn signals at 91st, or not 91st, at Commerce and Lexington are definitely being well received and loved.
Yeah.
It's been nice. The only problem is sometimes you get the left turn and you're still looking for people coming from the other way
Oncoming
from
traffic.
habit. But
Yeah.
so no, those have been, that's been really good. And everybody I've talked to just loves the change.
A lot safer. Yeah.
Second, got a call, and this is where we've talked about before. So part of it's going to be just give a quick summary recap of what caused it. And I mean, like I said, we've talked about it, but then also, where do we stand on the sidewalk issue over in Oak Country?
Okay. Yeah. So,
And part of the reason I'm asking, kind of give the history and back it up, is so
all
I
right.
can
Yeah.
actually point
Right.
people
Very
to
good.
the recording
To
and
this.
say,
Okay.
here's kind of the history of it.
Yeah.
We've been told, but now,
Right. Well, I'll let Patrick you jump in if I misspeak. But in a nutshell, when the development was first put in, our subdivision regulations require a sidewalk on one side of every street, and that requirement applied to Oak Country 8. At the time, the developer entered an agreement with the city to defer that requirement until essentially until the subdivision was up and built and the sidewalks would actually be needed. And that agreement was struck during the recession, so the justification was it looks like it might be a long time before it's actually needed. So the requirement wasn't removed from the subdivision; it was just deferred until such time. Well, the particulars of it are such that the verbiage of that agreement states that there's the lots that are interior to the loop are kind of differentiated from all the other lots. And it says that once all the interior lots are built on, that triggers the requirement for the sidewalk to be constructed. So when we issue the permit on the very last lot, then the sidewalk has to go in, and um, otherwise we won't issue any more permits for any other lots in the subdivision. So that's where things stand right now and have stood since then. Our concern has been in the last several years, the interior lots are filling up. And the last lot was recently sold to a private individual who we assume has plans to build on it. We haven't seen that building permit yet, so we're not there at the trigger. But after we issue that last building permit on the interior lots, we can't issue any more permits for the other lots, of which there are a handful of other lots that can be built on. So our concern is somebody, after the issuance of that last interior lot permit, will be left holding the bag, not able to get a building permit because of this sidewalk requirement. There's a provision in that agreement that the city can, so when the sidewalk's required, the developer has to go put it in. And if the developer does not put it in, then the city can initiate a benefit district to put the sidewalks in. And the benefit district spreads the cost of that sidewalk over all the owners in the subdivision. So that essentially is the status of the situation right now. We sent a letter out actually this week to all those owners, inviting them to a neighborhood meeting here in this room on the 13th, so next week, to just kind of explain that, in those terms, answer any questions, hear any concerns that anybody might have. Not that we're obligated to initiate a benefit district. Our preference would be that the developers would go in and install that sidewalk um, when that trigger occurs, or even before. Or maybe we just have some discussion with the neighbors about how we could implement the project. But the one thing I think we've been pretty clear, because over the time between the time that the agreement was first struck and now, the developers come back on at least two occasions and asked us to just remove that requirement. And each time we didn't feel like we had the legal authority actually to do that because it's a requirement in the subdivision regulations. So that's where it stands. And Patrick, is there anything I missed?
No,
on that?
you covered it. Only thing I would add, we recorded that agreement with the city, so
With the county.
or with the
Yeah.
county land record. So that agreement has been part of, so any title work being done, that agreement would have been in the chain of title. So
So just a couple questions, I think I had been told from Chris, who's one of the realtors, that there's only one piece of property left to sell. Is that true, or do you know how many
I
are?
know that there was only one piece of property on the interior lots left. And I think
Okay.
it sold recently. Now the other ones,
You don't know on the
I don't
outside or not?
know. I mean, I
Okay.
looked at them a couple of
But-
months ago, and
but
there
that
were a
also means
handful.
they could have sold and not had a permit pulled yet.
Right.
So, what kind of cost do you think it would be? I mean, roughly to do that?
We the number that I have on the top of my head, if we initiated a benefit district and that the payback period was 15 years, it would equate to about $475 per year per lot on average. We think it's about a
I mean, I guess-
$125,000 project.
Yeah.
So are we assuming, or is it highly probable that the
400.
developer will say no to doing it and it becomes a benefit district issue?
Yeah, I've talked to the developer and they don't. I mean, he's very friendly and wants to, work with whatever wants to be done, but I don't think they have the
Means.
means to put that sidewalk in. So it looks like the most likely scenario would be a benefit district.
And the benefit district would be just an equal share amount, not based on their frontage on this sidewalk or anything, correct? Or do we know that?
We don't exactly know.
It would
how
have to be the whole. It would because I mean, the only way it could not just apply to the lots that have frontage. With sidewalk.
Oh, no.
Correct.
No,
It would be all of the lots
Yeah.
within the subdivision would share. Whether it's per each, it would make more sense per each rather than per square foot or
Yeah.
what, because
Yeah.
you've only got one house on that
Yeah.
lot.
I mean, because that's a concern for what has been brought to me. It's like, oh, we're like, we got this big
Right, we
corner
got
and it's
two
going to
sides
cost us
here.
for, a lot of money to do it. And so they're totally against it.
Yeah.
And of course, the people that live out there, they have they'd rather be it on the outside than the inside. And I don't really know that makes a whole lot
I
of
was gonna
difference.
say, yeah, I
in
heard the outside
square
versus
footage.
inside
Oh, really?
because everybody walks the outside for more steps.
But it's not that much of a difference, really.
It's a little longer. I mean,
Oh, well, it's
it'd
a
be
little longer,
to build, but
But
I don't think that's certainly not set in stone. I suppose that was recorded with the plat that was the side that was required.
Yes.
Or was it just part of the original
It was
public
part of the
improvement
original
plans?
preliminary
Yeah,
plat.
right.
Yeah. And
So, I guess now, isn't it also the case that the developer's not the original developer who agreed to the deferment?
No, it is. It's
It's still the same
The current developer
entity?
is the original
the guy with
developer.
Cohen Esri.
Okay, Lee Harris.
Yeah.
So,
So
the unfortunate part is it should have been borne by the expense of creating the development. And when you go the route of the benefit district, you're just transferring it to the landowners. And theoretically, the cost of building the sidewalk was built into the cost of the lots because that was figured into the total cost of the subdivision. So I just feel like the developer ought to be required to meet the obligations that they signed up for, just like we do every other one. And then the other aspect is we got to remember, when these things, at the time it may seem like, God, we're working with you, we're being good, and these can go the wrong direction in a hurry.
mhm.
Yeah, I think it's a good
So-
lesson for us all
Yeah.
to remember.
So just
Completely
clarification, and I think I know where everybody stands, but if it was the decision to even pursue giving an exception, that would require a change to the actual
You
code, and that's pretty much
you really
Yeah.
at this point, given that the development's already in, even changing the code wouldn't really help this situation since it's already.
like I said, I'm
Yeah.
asking that not so much from my own curiosity, but from kind of what you hear of, well, can't you just give an exception, or is there a way to?
No,
So-
we actually the council at the time, I think probably their preference would have been. I understand everybody feels different, but I think they would have liked to have just because the way it was presented as this is a sidewalk to nowhere, no one wants it, but legally we determined you just can't do that. The regulations talk in terms of deferment, so it was staff's determination that the most the council could do was simply defer that requirement, not wipe it off the book. So I don't know of any way to take that off it's just part of the development. It has to.
And it's even almost further entrenched by the agreement that got
Yeah,
put in place.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
There is
You
no.
can't
I don't-
back
yeah,
out.
there's
Yeah.
no
It
easy out.
it just should have
of
gotten built.
constructing a sidewalk.
Yeah, and that idea that but it's a sidewalk to nowhere. I mean that'll always be the case, but eventually it goes somewhere.
Right.
Well, the sidewalk is still safer than walking in the roads, which they do now, and I understand what they're saying. It's not connected to anything, but you never know. Someday maybe it will be.
I mean, we're trying to put sidewalks in to connect other things. It's just a matter of when, where, how.
Yep.
So, okay, that was it. Just kind of
Okay.
to put some of the questions out there, and that way we have a way to point back to it and have
Yeah.
some discussion out
So
there.
so the neighbor meeting is August 13th. That's next Wednesday, 6 o'clock here in this room. It's not
Should
next
be,
Wednesday. It's
yeah,
2
2
Wednesdays from now.
Okay.
And it's not even Wednesday.
Thursday or Tuesday, isn't
It's
it?
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
I'm sorry.
But you're close.
Hopefully
on
I'll
both
show up.
What day is it?
Is it on your calendar? Is it on your calendar?
On my
Tuesday,
calendar.
August 13th, 6 p.m.
Yes.
And besides things, thanks for the job you do. That's all I got.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Ritter, anything for the good of the group tonight?
No, I just commented to Mike earlier that I don't steal Danny's thunder either. We met with Steve Chick this week on the emergency preparedness plan. Thought the meeting went real well, but he also shared that Cameron had completed some of his training. So I just commended that Steve had done a great job of setting his new employee up to succeed. So
Yeah, we're gonna have Cameron at the next council meeting to recognize that.
that's all I have.
All right. Thank you, Kevin. Danny?
Nothing, Mayor. They've taken care of.
All right. Thank you. I have two things. First of all, I was contacted by the DeSoto Days parade chair, and she encouraged me to encourage all the council to see if they would take advantage of the opportunity to participate in the parade in some fashion. I don't know what fashion.
Fancy Corvette to ride in, convertible Corvette to ride in. Maybe even drive. I'll be there.
How about a Corvair?
Corvair. I told I'll be in the parade, and I told him I would share that information with the council, so I did that. Let's see. The other thing is, I met with the Johnson County NAACP about a month ago now. Had a real good meeting with the folks from the NAACP, and they encouraged us to, or asked us if we would consider being a table sponsor at their annual dinner in December. $750 for a table of 10. I told them I would certainly at least buy 2 tickets for my wife and myself, but I wanted to know what the council's thought was on participating in that event, purchasing that table. I said it's December. I think it's actually September. I don't know why I said I've got Mike syndrome over here. It's in September. September. All right, I'm gonna have to open the web. 16th, something like that.
It's a Monday,
No, that's not a Monday. It is a Sunday, so
15th in,
probably
Chiefs and Raiders.
Chiefs and Raiders. I'm probably way wrong here. It's the 8th, September 8th.
It's
And where is this? And
Chiefs and Jaguars.
That's season
right.
opener there.
and what is it exactly?
It's the Johnson County NAACP. So and it's their annual dinner that they have at the Olathe Conference Center.
Sunday.
I don't have any trouble with the sponsorship, but I won't go.
Yeah, so if we buy a table of 10, we need to fill it. So
Yeah, that would be the idea.
that would not look.
That's a Sunday evening.
So I think it is Sunday. Yeah, it starts at 5 o'clock.
I don't have a problem with it.
We'll fill a table somehow.
I think we can do that.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it.
Okay.
Do you need some kind of motion or?
No, I don't think so. I just wanted to, if I invite you all to a dinner, I wanted to.
Somebody's gonna show up.
Yeah, right. And that's the other thing. I have one other thing offline for Mike, so I think that's all I got.
I'll make a motion. We adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.